Welcome to Ask and Learn.
We will find the critical numbers of the function f of x equal x squared times exponential of negative 3x. So remember that c in the domain of the function is a critical number if any of two things happens. The first derivative at that point does not exist, or it exists but is zero. So this is the definition of critical point of a function. So the first condition is that the point be in the domain of the function, and after that, if any of these two things happen, then the number is a critical number. A critical number of f, of course. Okay, so here we find the first derivative of f. In this case, we have the product of two functions, so we get the product rule is for derivative of the first factor x squared is 2x times the exponential of negative 3x plus the first factor x squared times the derivative of e to the negative 3x is e to the negative 3x times the derivative of the exponent, which is negative 3. And we get 2x e to the negative 3x minus 3x squared e to the negative 3x, and now we can take common factor out x e to the negative 3x, and we get inside parentheses 2 minus 3x. That is, the first derivative of f has the expression x e to the negative 3x times 2 minus 3x. And this derivative here exists for any real number x. And we also know that the domain of this function is the real numbers, because the formula defining f can be evaluated at any real number x. So we have domain of f equal the real numbers, and the first derivative exists at any real number x. These two things together imply that the only critical numbers of f are those real numbers such that, or for which, the derivative is zero, because it cannot happen the first possibility, this one here, because the first derivative exists everywhere. So the critical points can only be those values for which the derivative is zero. But now we start with this equation, first derivative of f equals 0. That's the same as saying that this formula here is 0, that is x e to the negative 3x times 2 minus 3x equals 0. And this is equivalent, in fact, that x equals 0 or 2 minus 3x equals 0. That is because this factor here is not 0 for any real number. That is, we have a product of three functions x times this exponential of negative 3x and this factor here, 2 minus 3x. Because the factor exponential of negative 3x can never be 0, it implies that the other two factors can be 0, any of them or both of them. That is, or x equal 0 or the factor 2 minus 3x is equal to 0. And that's the same as saying that x is 0 or x equal to thirds if we solve this equation here for x. And then these are the two values that for which the first derivative is 0. That is, these are the critical numbers of f. So the only critical numbers of f are 0 and 2/3. And that's the answer to this problem.